Hello, and welcome to the How Do I video series for Microsoft Dynamics NAV 2015. My name is Bas Graaf and I'm a software development engineer in the NAV R&D team at Microsoft. In this video, I'll explain how to use the application merge utilities to merge version lists. At the end of this video, you have a better understanding how to use the output of the merge command and how to use PowerShell to merge version lists exactly the way you want. To get started, we first open the development shell. In this video, I'll play the role of a third party that has developed an add-on for NAV. This add-on has been integrated into the application that was released with NAV 2015. In the example in the video, we'll try to merge an update released by Microsoft with the changes made for this add-on integration. We will not focus so much on the actual code merge, but instead have a look at how the version list of all these different versions could be correctly merged. So let's have a look at the folder structure that I've set up for this purpose. So here is 4 folders that will be involved in the merge. There's the original folder containing the application objects as in the application in NAV 2015. There's the CU1 folder that contains the objects as they were changed for the cumulative update 1 relative to NAV 2015. We'll use this folder as the modified folder. Then there's the My Add-on folder that contains the changes to the object that I made for integrating my add-on into the application. And finally, there's the result folder where we will put the results of the merge. Let's have a more detailed look at the kind of changes that we are talking about. For this, I'll use the free software merge and diff tool KDiff3, which is an excellent tool for this purpose. And I give it my original CU1 and my add-on folders. Without getting into details, I just opened this to show that we have code unit 1 that, as you can see from the coloring here, has changed both in the cumulative update in the middle column here, as in my add-on integration, which is in the right column. Note that in the original, the NAV 2015 release, is in the left column. For code unit 2, we can see that the color is green everywhere, so this object is actually the same in all 3 versions. In code unit 3, we see that the object was changed in the cumulative update, but wasn't changed in the My Add-on folder. And for code unit 6, the object was only changed in the My Add-on folder. Drilling down even further, when I open the changes made to code unit 1 on the left hand side, we see the original object, and now we will just focus on the version list, which has a version list of NAV W1 8.00. In the cumulative update, this version was changed into NAV W1 8.00.123. And for my add-on integration, I used the convention of just replacing whatever was in the version list with my specific version list, my add-on in this case. And the changes in these other objects were similar. For instance, well, code unit 2 wasn't changed anywhere. for code unit 3, we see, for instance, that in the original NAV 2015, this code unit was still on version list NAV W1400. It was changed in the cumulative update, so that version was changed into NAV W1800123. But in the My Add-on integration, I actually didn't touch this object. So the version list there was the same as in the original NAV W1400. So this should give you an idea of what kind of changes we're talking about. So now let's try to merge these different versions. And I will now be using the positional parameters to keep it short. The first one is the folder with the original objects, which was named original. Then we get the folder with the modified objects, which we designated to be cumulative update 1. And finally the folder with my add-on integration, which is in my add-on. Those are the 3 inputs, and as output I want to put them in result. And just to make sure that everything will be overridden, I use force. So now we see the usual summary of a merge operation, explaining that there were 4 application objects involved, and in the modified version in code unit in cumulative update 1 there were 2 changes, and all of them could be merged into the version in the target in my add-on integration. So this is the summary, but for this demonstration I'd like to drill into this a little bit deeper, and for that I will assign the output of a merge to a variable like this, and now I can inspect this a little bit better. So if I would just output this collection, then I get the result of 4 merge operations displayed here. Each of these results is a merge info object. And this merge info object contains a lot more details about the merge. And to get a better understanding of that, we can use the get member commandlet, which gives us an overview of what kind of properties these merge info objects have. So we see here some members that are inherited from objects, for instance, but most interestingly for this purpose is the target property, result property, the original property, and the modified property, which gives additional information about the 4 files involved in this merge, the 3 input files and 1 output file. And the type of these properties is in each case that of application object file info, and we can have a closer look at that by making an expression where we dot into this property. For instance, if I do $m result, then I get the application object info for each of the result objects in each merge operation, which is shown here. And you can see that I get the file name, the object type, the ID. And now that's interesting, we also get the version list for each input object and the resulting version list in the output object down here. So if I now make an expression where I directly specify the version list for each result object, what I get now is for each merge operation what was put in the version list of the result object. So we see these four, and this is basically the default behavior of the merge commandlet, which is that it would always get the version list of the object as it was in target. So we would always, in this case, get the version list the way it is in my add-on integration object. And this is not what we want. We want more control, and we want that the version list that ends up in the resulting object is a function of the version list on the original, modified, and target objects. In order to do this, we'll fire up the integrated script environment, which is part of the PowerShell, because it's a little bit easier because we need to develop a function that would calculate the new version list based on those three inputs that I mentioned. We opened the PowerShell scripting environment, which means this is a new session, so we have to load the module that contains all the commandlets again. So I do that. I use the short for import module, IPMO. And now I have to reference the path of the application merge utilities, the development shell module, and this one is installed in the client folder. So I the client folder, this, and now you will have to load the PSD1 file. It's named like this. Don't mind the warning here. So now we have the module loaded with all the application merge utilities in it. So now we can start thinking about this function that we need that will calculate the version list based on those three inputs. And since we have all those three inputs available in the merge info objects that come out of the merge command, create a function that creates a new version list given a merge info object. This is the skeleton for that function, and now we will have to make it do something. So let's start simple, and in this version let's just concatenate the three versions of all the input objects. So we could do this like by defining a variable, all versions, which would then be an array where each element is the version list of one of the inputs. So for original, modified, which is the cumulative update, and target, which is my add-on integration. Now we have an array, and now we need to transform this array into a version list string, where we want to separate each of the original version list by a semicolon. And in PowerShell we can do this by using the join operator, where you can specify the delimiter like this. And now to get this definition into the session down here, we can just press F5 to run it. And now we can try it out. So first, let's get those merge objects again, merge info objects, by performing a merge and assigning it. As before, merge NAV application object original modified, which is the cumulative update 1 folder, and the target, which is in my add-in folder, and then we force to override anything It's already there, and we also need to specify the result folder. So now we have this collection of merge info objects in the M variable, and now we want to apply our new version list function to each element in that collection. So for this we need to iterate using for each object. Then in the loop we will say new version list, and then we apply it variable like this. And here you see the result. So the result is the concatenation of all the three inputs. But also this still looks weird, because here you would get 3 times the same element, and here you would get 2 versions for NAVW1, which is also weird to get 2 different versions of that same thing. So to better understand and explain what I would expect this merge to be, I created a small note here with a table, just to give an idea what the pattern is here. So these are the version lists in the 3 versions that we're talking about, and then this is how I would see in this column what the result should be. So for instance, in the first object, we have an updated version in the cumulative update, and it was changed in the my add-on integration. So I would expect that the resulting version list would reflect that by concatenating the version from cumulative update 1 and the version list in the my add-on integration. Here for the second object, where nothing was changed, of course I would just want that version list to come back in the result, but only once, of course. Here the inputs give me 3 NAVW1 versions, but in the result I only want the most recent one of those. And this is important, I think, because that is part of the pattern. And then in code unit 6, that was not changed in the cumulative update, then I just want to keep that version that was there for NAVW1 and then add the version for my add-on. So to summarize, the pattern for the way I want to merge these version lists is that I want to take the most recent or the highest version for the NAVW1, and then I want to concatenate that with the version of the my add-on if it was different from the others. So let's see how we can implement that. The first step is that we need to get the most recent NAVW1 version. Let's assign that one to this variable, ms version. To select that version, we take advantage of the fact that all of them start with the string NAVW1. So we start with the all versions array and then select only those that starts with NAVW1. So now we have all version lists that start with that string. And to select the one with the highest version number, we can sort them and then select the last one of them. So now that we have the Microsoft version, the NAVW1 version that we want to use in the resulting version string, or the merged version string, we can now build it up. We will assign it to this merged versions array. So we start with the MS version, and then we add to it the, well, not the all versions, but all versions except those that start with NAVW1. So we want to select the ones that do not start with it, and we can do that like this. So what you see here with the dot where, it's a different notation, but it means the same as what happens here. But I'm using it like this here because otherwise I would have to enclose the two elements of the pipe in parentheses. So it's just a little bit easier syntax, I think. There's one trick here we need to be aware of. What this does is that it takes the MS version, which is a string, and it will concatenate the all versions array. But because it would concatenate it to a string, it would first convert that array to a string before it concatenates it, which is not what we want. We want to use array concatenation. So for that we need to start out with an array like this. So we start with an empty array, we add the MS version as the first element to it, and then we add the all versions array except the ones that start with NAVW1. Now to return the version string, we concatenate that merged versions array as a single string and with the semicolon delimiter. So let's load it into the session with F5 again, and now we try the same command again. And now we see exactly the pattern as we intended it. We only see one, the most recent NAVW1 version, and if the object was changed for the add-on integration, we also see that version appended. So as the last step, we now want to apply these version lists to the objects in result, and that we can do like this. We take the merge object infos, and then we do it for each. So I use the percent sign here, which is a shorthand for each object to make it really short. Then we need to use the set nav application object property. The target would be the result object from the merge info. We just want to do it in place. And the version list property, we can set that one using the function we just built. Like this. I see that I made a small mistake here. It has to be the loop variable instead. So now we can verify that it is correct by, for instance, importing this into NAV. For this we can use the import command. We can pipe the merged info objects into the import command, and then I have a database here with the name demo. And I have it open here in the development environment. So this was the original. I refreshed the object designer, and as you can see now we have all the updated version lists here. This brings me to the end of this video. in which I demonstrated how to use the application Merge Utilities and PowerShell to merge version lists exactly the way you want. Thank you for listening.